Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's District Administration Web Seminar, which is entitled Back to School, 6 Key Strategies for Using Technology in the Physical Classroom, which is brought to you by the generous support of our sponsor, Canvas. Now, before we get started, I'd just like to share just a few housekeeping items with all of you today, and then we'll get started. For technical support, please use the chat panel, which you can find on the right side of your screen. Then please select on my name, which is Stephen Blackburn, and then type your message if you're having any technical issues, and I will get back to you as soon as possible to fix them for you. If you don't have computer speakers, or if you prefer to listen privately, then please dial the phone number as well as the access code that I will be posting in the chat window in a few moments, so look out for that. We will also be welcoming any questions you have today with a Q&A session, which will take place at the end of the presentation. To submit a question, please use the Q&A panel, which you can find in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, clicking on the 3 dots or the ellipses, and then clicking on the Q&A panel, and then send your questions to all panelists, which should be the default option. If you don't see the chat or the Q&A panels for whatever reason, just again, look to the right side of your screen, then click on the expand triangle, which should be located directly in front of the panel name. Also, last thing, and then we'll get started, something important to note, if you would like to access the web seminar at a later time, you'll be pleased to know that everyone who registered, as well as who is attending today, will receive an email with a link to the slides, as well as an archive recording. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce to all of you our panelists today. We have Thomas Tarano, who is the Solutions Engineer over at Instructure. Dr. David Timms, who is the Director of Secondary and Instructional Technology over at Johnson City Schools, located in Tennessee. We also have Sherry Abel, who is the High School Math District Instructional Specialist at Charleston County Schools in South Carolina, and Steve Harnett, who is the Director of Digital Teaching and Learning at Elizabeth Ford School District in Pennsylvania. And now I will hand things over to the facilitator of today's event, Thomas. Thomas, it's great to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for that great introduction. I'm so honored to be joined by an amazing group of people from all different sizes of school districts, all implementing Canvas at different times. We'll hear from somebody who implemented in 2016, another implementing before the pandemic in 2019, and one, Sherry, I'm looking at you, smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. So it's a great kind of overview of how things got rocking and rolling, and we'll get an idea of what worked and what they're going to continue moving forward. The goal of this is to introduce the audience to a handful of strategies for using technology in the physical classroom as teachers and students head back. Our panelists will share how the strategies have worked for them in the past and what they're planning on doing in the coming year and in the future. But before we see the list, I want to pass the mic on to our panelists just so you can hear a bit from them, more about them and where they come from. So I will pass it on to Dr. Timms first.
Sure, thank you for that introduction. David Timms, Director of Secondary and Instructional Technologies in Johnson City in Tennessee. We are a mid-sized district for Tennessee. We are just over 8,000 students. Like they said, we first adopted Canvas in 2016, added Canvas Studio right at the beginning of the pandemic, and we're excited this year to be adding case benchmarks. Throughout my career, I've been classroom teacher at the high school level, curriculum director and assistant superintendent, and also worked at the State Department of Education, but very excited in 2016 to begin our instructional technology initiative in our district. Little did we know that it would lead to the work that we've been doing this past year. We're a pretty diverse district for Tennessee. We're a growing district, and you can see there on the screen, we have 11 schools, actually 12 schools. We have added a virtual academy this year that I'll be talking about in just a bit. 58 languages that are spoken over the width of our district, And we have around 4% English learners in our district, which is high for our region, 13% students with disabilities, and 31% right at it, economically disadvantaged. And Canvas is used in our district kindergarten through 12th grade, but it is the platform of choice in 3rd grade through 12th grade.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear your experiences through these strategies.
All right, it's up to me. So Charleston County is just a little bit bigger than Dr. Tim's region, maybe. We are kind of wide. So we inhabit about 1,000 square miles of coastal lands. I know everybody's like, yes, the coast, but it's been 115 degrees here this week. So it's, you know, it's pretty steamy too. We have the oldest and largest city in the state, but we're only the 2nd largest district in our state, with Greenville being in the northern part of our state and is the largest. We have the largest port in the nation, and we are growing. So we've got a lot of industry moving into our area. We've been known for the medical field, but we've got a lot of technology, automotive, a lot of businesses moving in. So we're growing at a very rapid pace. And I would just say, please don't move to Charleston, because we got a lot of people and no space left. We are landlocked. So CCSD is very, very diverse. So we have the #1 school in the state and the #2 school in the nation. But we also have the lowest performing elementary, middle, and high school in our state, in our district. So we have a wide range here. In fact, Clemson did a study on us, and because of it, we were awarded the $12 million in the EIR grant for cultural competency. This is a huge deal, because when Clemson did their study, they found it to be probably worse than apartheid was for Africa. So we've got a lot of things going on here. We are the most economically stratified district in our state. So we've got about 50,000 students, ranging from elementary to or pre-K to high school. We've got a growing graduation rate. So we're growing in all areas, and we are getting better. And we know that a lot of that has to do with our focus. So just like Dr. Tim stated, a lot of things ramping up here for us. We began to implement our benchmarking, our case benchmarks in high school back in August of 2019. That was our first dabble in it. And it was used as a way to progress monitor what was going on in our EOC courses. And because of that, it was like, hey, wait, if we're going to do that for high school, what about our middle school? So our middle school, yes, indeedy. We hopped right in right after the pandemic, back to school. And yes, we're going to implement benchmarking in the middle school during a post-pandemic crisis. So here we are doing that. And then this year we're rolling it out to elementary, because we see a need to keep that consistency and being able to see our growth from one year to the next and be able to follow a group of kids along their career in our education cycle. After that, if you think about it, we were like behind the 8 ball, ahead of the 8 ball, whichever way you want to look at it. We did not implement Canvas here until August of 2020. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, I want you to look at that date, August of 2020. We had been out of school since March 16th. And our teachers walked back into school post-pandemic, plexiglass everywhere, and Canvas to lift. And I'm here to say, after many boxes of hair dye, we survived. And so, although it says high school math by my name, I'm the lucky one who handles all of the benchmarking and those pieces for my district. So I have the firsthand dabble into what that looks like. And we'll touch on this later about how we handled lifting Canvas in a post-pandemic environment. And our expectation was that everything would be housed there. We needed a one-stop shop. That was our biggest thing that we learned from the pandemic, is that parents needed a one-stop shop. If they have kids that are spanning elementary, middle, and high school, a one-stop shop and not 3 different platforms to go to figure out where their kids are, because that was feedback from parents like, I can't keep up. I don't know how my kids are keeping up. So that was why we went and dove straight into Canvas. So we expected all of our courses to be placed there so parents had a one-stop shop. So our kids have a one-stop shop. And also all of our professional development is housed in Canvas as well. So lots of new learning for our people.
That's great. Can't wait to hear more insight into each of the individual statistics that we have as well when it comes to Charleston County. And finally, last but certainly not least.
Hi, everyone. My name is Steve Hartnett. My official title is the Director of Digital Teaching and Learning, and it's an ongoing joke in my district. What does that even mean, Steve? And my response is always, I'll let you know when I kind of figure that out. But no, in all seriousness, my job is to really help train our teachers and support our teachers with our different technology initiatives. And not only our teachers, our students, and also our parents since the pandemic has started. I come from Elizabeth Forward School District. If you're not familiar with the area, we are about 20 miles south of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Go Steelers, right? We are a relatively small school district compared to my other panelists here. We have about 2,200 and plus students and about 184 teachers. We range from 6 different schools. We have a 42% free and reduced lunch rate, which is relatively, high for our area. And our claim to fame is our technology prowess at Elizabeth Forward. So we've been a one-to-one iPad school, K to 12, for about 10 or 11 years now. And lucky enough, we've had these devices pre-pandemic, and our teachers and our students and parents are very familiar with them. So that definitely came in handy during the pandemic. But just really honored to be here to share some of our experiences at Elizabeth Forward, share a little bit more of our takeaways from the pandemic and some strategies with everybody.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that. So as we move to the actual list of strategies, I'll throw that on the screen here. I do want to also throw some stats at you. Our research shows that 81% of educators believe that technology will become increasingly important in teaching and learning moving forward. That's kind of funny to say, with more than half agreeing that remote learning will impact everyday classroom practices in the future. I think it's definitely safe to agree with those stats and say we're already seeing it. Teachers are already living it. The question becomes, how is what we did last year and before going to impact what we do this year moving forward? On the screen for the audience, you'll see 6 strategies for using technology in the physical classroom. We'll give you a link to these, to this list, I should say, at the end, so don't feel rushed in having to screenshot it. But I do want to dive into each of these points. So for the first one, I think building a foundation for digital learning, definitely the most important. I'm going to ask our panelists each a question, and then we'll kind of take it from there. Dr. Timms, I'd like to start with you. I remember working with you and your team way before the pandemic, like you mentioned, in 2016, and seeing your big vision plan of how the district would implement Canvas. I know that for sure gave you a head start, like you mentioned, even when having to go remote. But I'm curious, if you had to do it all again from the start today, what would be the things that you would continue, start, stop? Kind of give me some insight on that.
Sure. And I just want to say it's awesome to be here with you. You were our first Canvas trainer to come into the district when we started. So in thinking back through what we've learned this past year, our staff and our students really had adapted Canvas well. And if I could do anything different, and I know what we're doing differently this year, is being more purposeful in training our parents on how to use and access Canvas through their parent observer accounts. That's one thing that we really had to try and ramp up last year. That was a heavy lift. That had we done that differently when we first rolled out Canvas in 2016, I think we would have been further down the road with the parent understanding of the aspects of what it means to operate in a digital environment.
Awesome. Yeah, no, we definitely hear that. Sherry, looking at you now, Charleston County was in the process of searching for an LMS right before, and like you mentioned, into the first months of the pandemic. I'm curious, after a year of online teaching and learning and creating those assessments, everyone getting back to the physical classroom now, what will stay the same? What things will change pre and post learning from home?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question, Thomas. I might have to get you to repeat that one. Golly, I will tell you that walking into, we had our presentation, I guess I'll start back with that. We had our presentation about Canvas to a group of us prior to leaving for the pandemic. And we had that slow, really introduction to Canvas and what it could do for us. And then all of a sudden we're out. And then we were told, yes, we rolled with Canvas. And we were like, oh, great. Because, when you're stuck at home like that, it's like, okay, so now what? What can we do? So the thing that we learned the most was being very prepared and making sure that we were there to support all of our teachers in the lift of this, because it is a lift. It is different. And we had some teachers who were very skeptical of going digital, period. It was a very uncertain time for them. Some of them had to really step outside of their comfort zones, because here in Charleston, and I don't know about my other counterparts, what happened in your districts, but here our teachers were teaching in face-to-face and virtually at the same time. So they were Zooming with kids at home as they were teaching face-to-face children, which is a struggle. That's a tough, tough load. The things that we were able to do for them in Canvas certainly ease that burden. The fact that our kids could access it anytime, anywhere, any day, that was a godsend to our teachers and to our parents. And I know somebody put in the chat, yes, the parents need a lot of support, and they do. That cannot be stated loudly enough, and it certainly cannot be overlooked. There has to be a lot of support around our parents, because this is not the way they were raised. They're not used to this environment. And so just like for our teachers who had to lift this, our parents are having to lift it too.
Awesome.
So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's my
Yeah,
answer.
no, you did. You did. And fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but Charleston, the on-site was the last on-site I did before the pandemic. That was
Are
the
you
last
kidding?
trip yeah, that's the last trip I went on before the world shut down.
Hey, at least it was a good one. It was a great trip. It could have been
great.
to, Elizabeth Ford, Pennsylvania or somewhere like that.
Oh
I
my
don't know.
gosh, shots fired. Ooh. Well, moving our focus to Elizabeth Forward School District, adopting in 2019, not much of a head start like Dr. Timms had, but definitely more of a head start than Charleston County. Interested on your thoughts, for building that foundation for a digital learning platform for the new year. Has the blueprint for that foundation or the way you anticipate using Canvas in the new year changed from what you've previously done or what teachers have previously done?
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, I'm lucky enough to work at a school district who really, our teachers and our students and parents really embrace change. They really embrace the technology integration as well. So when we decided to go with Canvas as our learning management system, you have to understand, we had a previous learning management system that, I'm just going to say it, everybody, it was terrible, right? We've all heard the saying, like, my dog ate my homework. With our previous learning management system, it was, hey, I'm not going to say the name of it, but it deleted my work. And we were kind of like, and I was a teacher at that point. And instead of being a teacher, I was now like an investigator. And I had to go and take a look at, like, did actually delete your work? And so when we took on Canvas, it was just a sigh of relief. And we were really excited about all the different capabilities and how robust this learning management system really is. So to go back to your question, at Elizabeth Forward, I think we didn't realize the potential of how we could really use Canvas in terms of not only delivering, content to students, but also delivering content to our staff in the form of like professional development as well. And that has been a game changer for us. Now, everything that we do in terms of getting our staff trained, it doesn't even have to be Canvas related. All our other initiatives are all housed in Canvas. And it really is making it almost like a single sign-on, not only for students, but also for our staff as well. And the other thing that we realized pretty quickly was we needed a way for our courses inside Canvas to be similar enough so our parents and students could go ahead and move from one course to another without being lost. But we wanted to go ahead and give our teachers that flexibility to really make their courses personalized, right? And so to do so, we took I like to say we begged, borrowed, and steal from a lot of other school districts who led the way, probably from Dr. Timms and his district. And from Canvas as well, we create our own course rubric. And that's something that we share with all our building principals and our teachers. And it has these common features that we expect all of our teachers to have within their course. And it really has built in capacity across our district from using Canvas.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm hearing, I think everyone said something about professional development. I have a stat somewhere, not in front of me, that says how the success factor increases if teachers actually first get into Canvas as a student, going through course material that maybe has nothing to do with Canvas. So bringing in other initiatives and building courses for them. So teachers kind of have that fundamental kind of starting point of what is this thing, what does it look like, and they get ideas for how they can use it in their own classroom. So I think that's a huge point that I just want to echo. Anything else that we have to kind of add to the building a foundation for digital learning? And the only other kind of open question that I would add, or what are the specific things that you put in place so teachers knew where to begin, right? Time and time again, I hear districts implement Canvas and the goal is for teachers to use Canvas. Well, what does that actually mean? Does anyone want to talk more about kind of the steps in which teachers took to be successful utilizing the platform?
I think I have a slide that we may move.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. That's it. So this goes back, and Thomas, I know we were working on this when you came to our district in 2016. This, very briefly in Johnson City was our model in 2016, and it's served us really well over the last several years. Our board, when I came to this district in 2015, really wanted to move into a blended learning approach. We had not yet purchased devices, and we made the decision early on that that would be the last thing that we would do. So we really started with the why first, of why we wanted to move into this environment. How that would work, that is where we landed with Canvas. Canvas actually came out of the how conversation with our teachers and with our building principals over that school year. And then we moved finally into a device adoption, and like Steve, we're now in a one-to-one environment, but we were very purposeful in that time between the technology department and then also my side of the house, which is the curriculum department. But during that time, to answer the professional development piece and really helping teachers prepare, we also started a technology teacher leader program. That was an application process. Each year we would select 20 to 25 teacher leaders who would go through a year-long Saturday academy, several Saturdays per year, and then one national conference related to technology. They really became our foundation those first couple of years of supporting embedded in their buildings the adoption and the use of Canvas. We would train them very deeply at the district level. They would go back into the buildings and they would support their colleagues. We're now in year 6 of that technology teacher leader program. So we have around 80 active teacher leaders in our district right now. We could not have survived last year without them. They were immediately boots on the ground in each other's courses, helping teachers learn how to use the templates that we designed, helping teachers learn how to design very easy to use classes and use all the features of Canvas. So if I had any word of advice, no matter where you're at, is to really start with that focused approach of moving through the Simon Sinek model, almost starting with your why, and then really the power in our district of empowering those teacher leaders and training them deeply at the district level and embedding them back out into the classrooms.
Holy moly, that makes my change manager heart so happy.
And yeah, Dr. Timms, you're definitely speaking my language. When you hear, or when you said boots on the ground, that's a phrase you commonly hear in our schools at Elizabeth Forward. And we took a really similar approach. We had several teachers across our district in each of our buildings pilot Canvas, and those really became our go-to teachers for supporting teachers and for training teachers when we first were adopting Canvas. And then we were also really strategic. Being a former teacher, I used to hate it, everybody, when we'd all sit in a large auditorium and someone would go ahead and try to train all of us in one setting. And so when I took on this administrative role, I really wanted to make sure, we talk about personalizing learning for students. Well, why don't we do the same thing for professional development for our teachers as well, right? And not to mention that we got a lot of great resources from Canvas. The Growing with Canvas training course was something that was huge for our teachers, just to become familiar with those basics. And we really drilled on those basics, which helped us be successful in our first year of implementation and then throughout the pandemic as well.
Love that so much. So, a couple of things that were mentioned that you should write down. Simon Sinek's, I think it's called the Golden Circle or something. Is that? Yeah. If you haven't seen that, check that out. Even the ADKAR model, creating awareness, desire, and knowledge, ability, and reinforcement, utilizing things like Steve was saying to get teachers into Canvas even before they're utilizing it in a teacher role. Really great strategies there. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next strategy. I feel like we could talk about that one all day long, but the next one is capitalize on last year's investments. Now, all of you implemented something new under the Instructure umbrella last year, whether it was Sherry implementing Canvas or others with Studio, Mastery Connect, question banks. What's the group's take on not only utilizing the tools that you have in a traditional sense, but I'm sure you might also have some out-of-the-box ideas as well on how to utilize them. This was a question I didn't prepare them for, so they're thinking.
I think we have some slides, Thomas.
Yeah, okay, here we go.
So,
That one's mine. So we went with the philosophy because, of course, we were implementing when everybody was out, everybody was gone. And so at the district level, we were told when teachers walk back in, they're going to walk back into Canvas. So I used it as a way to go, if the old adage, if you build it, they will come. So we also had implemented a brand new curriculum the year before in high school, and we were rolling out the same curriculum for middle school. So middle school really got it the year we returned. But I went in and I built out every single course. So I gave you snapshots of 3. So we built out Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, the complete illustrative mathematics courses, every lesson, every practice, everything. Because we knew that the lift was going to be so great for our teachers, both with Canvas and with a curriculum, that we needed to take something off their plate so they wouldn't be so overwhelmed when they're faced with having to teach face-to-face and Zooming at the same time. There was just too much, and we needed them to stay the course. So in these full-blown courses, they're down and dirty courses. What I mean, every lesson's there, everything is there. But teachers could go in and personalize that course. So they import it, they make it their own, their homepage is their own. The way that students interact with it is the way that the teacher wants them to interact with it. So it's customizable from the teacher standpoint, but we did want to provide them with all the things that they would need. So we built that in there, one, in hopes that it would go, oh, hey, I need to use this because the course is already there in Canvas. And so that was my hook to get them in. Then I built a resource course. So the resource course is chock full of all the things they need to support these courses. So all of their PowerPoints for every lesson are in there so they can customize those. So, everything that they could possibly need, other videos, all of those things are in these courses. So we knew that if we could build it, that they would come. And much like the other 2 panelists, we built our professional development in there as well, so they could do it on their own pace, at their own pace. So they don't have to sit there and do it on the time that I have scheduled. They can go in and do it when they have the time, whether it's for a mom who goes home and has to get her kids taken care of, she can sit down at 10 o'clock at night and do that PD if she wants to. So it's when it's on the teacher's time frame, I guess. And that has really been a good investment for us because teachers love that. The feedback that we've gotten is, I love the fact that I don't have to be there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when that's the busiest time for me because I'm running kids 3 places, that kind of thing. So I can't say it enough. If you build it in there, if you provide the things inside of Canvas, it will invite your teachers in there. And the more that they have in there to work around and to play with, the more accustomed they'll get to it. And they'll begin to branch off and use the other features like Canvas Studio to engage students in collaboration. So if you build it, they will come. That's our philosophy.
Yeah, and it looks like you might have added these to Commons for teachers to actually pull down. For someone who's not familiar with Commons or that idea, can you give us just like a quick synopsis of what that is?
Absolutely. So the Commons is is I guess nationwide, really. There's a Commons that's for every Canvas user out there, and you can shop for gold in the Commons. In fact, you could spend hours because there's literally that much in the Commons. So if you feel like you have to start from scratch, you do not, because I can promise you somebody has created something out there that you can import and then tweak it to make it your own or to be like you need it to be. That's the beautiful part of it. As a district, we also have our own Commons that is restricted to just CCSD users. And that's where we house our curriculum, because that's what we have developed for our district to use. So although we could have shared it to the regular Commons, I guess I'll call it regular Commons, these courses have been shared to the CCSD Commons so that only our CCSD teachers and staff can access.
Yeah, so any administrators on the phone know that you can build one item within a course or a full-fledged out course that we see here, actually put your stamp of approval on it, like we see these red checks, and then your teachers have the ability to find it, pull it in. They can filter it by grade level, by outcome, by standard, all of these different ways. So it's a great resource. Think of it as like a learning objects repository. Thank you, Sherry.
And that was mine. Just in line with what we learned last year that we were able to leverage this year, we have, for the last 6 summers, always had a summer technology academy in our district where all of our teachers sign up to present. Last summer, of course, our safety protocols would not allow us to all be in person with several hundred teachers. So we moved everything into Canvas. We had always housed it in Canvas, but the beauty of what happened last year, because we had adopted Canvas Studio, we kept in place for this summer as well. So rather than having 60 sessions that you had to pick between and maybe you get to go to 4 or 5 in person, we used Canvas Studio, and all 60 sessions are now housed permanently in an open Canvas course. And this is open to anyone, anywhere. We share these very widely. And they are on-demand professional development. So we've now done that for 2 summers. And even when we do transition back to in-person conferences or seminars within our district, we will continue to use Canvas Studio to record all of these sessions, because we're building a really great library of presentations that are not only great professional development, but they're also from colleagues from across the district. So that was a huge piece for us that we took away from last year in terms of leveraging what we learned into what we can do to make ourselves better. So Canvas Studio was a huge, huge piece of that.
Yeah, I think this definitely can be filed under the out-of-the-box ideas, because you're solving for a problem, right? I was working
Absolutely.
with a district that did somewhat like what you're doing, but actually had assignments for teachers to actually submit to using Canvas. So not only did they learn a new practice or a new tool, or, you know, insert whatever they're learning in here, they were actually able to then practice and demonstrate their ability to implement that. And using Studio, they were able to, you know, work with another teacher across the district that they normally wouldn't have access to collaborate and talk about, you know, best practices. So I think this is an awesome example of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so basically, to kind of echo and twist a little bit what Sherry talked about, if you build it, they will come. I love that. That's a great mantra to have. We were looking for early wins in terms of not only when we first adopted Canvas, but we also knew that the stress of this previous school year was going to have on our teachers, our students, and our parents. And like I mentioned before in our introduction, Elizabeth Ford, you know, we are really proud of our technology integration, right? And so these are all the tools that we use prior to even adopting Canvas. So the vast majority of them are, I should say. And one way we really got teachers to invest into Canvas was, hey, take a look at Canvas and look what tools can live inside of Canvas that can integrate with Canvas, these LTI tools. Prior to adopting Canvas, if I was a teacher in my classroom and I'm teaching, I would tell everyone, all right, guys, let's go on our iPad and we're going to open up, you know, our old learning management system. And then let's open up Newsela, let's open up the Notes app. And for a middle school student, okay, they can handle that. A high school student, anyone who teaches elementary, you know, bless you. That's definitely a really difficult job, right? And so now that everything is housed in Canvas, and I call Canvas almost like a single sign-on, an SSO, right? It's really been a great way to get buy-in for our teachers. And also too, it's a great way now to have our teachers try new other technologies, because we can say, probably without a doubt in most cases, that, hey, this integrates amazingly with Canvas, and it's, again, another one-stop shop. I can't remember which one of the panelists used that term, but it's absolutely true when it comes to Canvas. Canvas really has become a one-stop shop for us.
That's awesome. And Steve, I want to continue asking you a question here. The next strategy is differentiate instruction in and outside of the classroom. And I think, what you just said, your point really, resonates with this strategy, because now, the tools that students are using are now available outside of the classroom. They're available in their homes, whereas maybe before it wasn't. I also heard the youngest learners at your district that use Canvas have a little bit different situation with grades, right? I think kindergartners in Canvas are issued badges. Can you tell me a little bit more about how students being able to access materials inside and outside of the physical classroom allow for better grades and the earning of those badges?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, it's an amazing experience for all of our students. First of all, since we are a one-to-one iPad school district, we rely exclusively on the Canvas mobile apps, right? So the Canvas student app, our teachers do utilize the Canvas teacher app, and then we really pushed this past school year to get our parents, with the Canvas parent app. But to go back to your question, Thomas, having that ability to have access to Canvas, I mean, literally I can go on Canvas on my phone right here and go ahead and access the content I need. And that's so powerful. As you mentioned, we don't issue grades in kindergarten. We found long ago that, kindergarten, hey, you got an A on this or whatever, or you got 5 out of 5. Kindergartners didn't really understand that concept, but they get badges, right? And Canvas is a great partnership for LTI with Badger, the badging program that we used. And it's really allowed us to go ahead and, first of all, be an early win for our kindergarten teachers in terms of adopting Canvas. They were all about this. They're like, this is so amazing, because prior to this, the old way we issued badges was going onto an Excel sheet, going and entering that. And it's funny, my superintendent, assistant superintendent would help our kindergarten teachers go ahead and award those badges on the weekends. And if you're from southwestern Pennsylvania, you don't interrupt a Sunday when the Steelers are on. You just don't do that, right? So it's almost like a little bit sacrilegious. But with Badger, it is so easy. And I have a couple of screenshots here of what our badging courses look like.
I'm really failing at these transitions, Steve. I'm failing you. I'm sorry.
You are completely fine. You're completely fine. So, but no, honestly, it's really helpful. It's so intuitive. It's really easy for the teachers to issue the badges. It's even easier for the students to view their badges, to see their progress. So for example, if you take a look at the screen here, those badges, looking at that second picture that the student has earned, they're in color. And the badges that have yet to be earned are the silhouettes. We are lucky enough to have one of our graduates who got into graphic design create all of our badges. I believe we're at up to 62 or 63 badges. And you can see the numbers, they don't lie. We've had issued about a little over 4,000 badges to our kindergarten students since we adopted Canvas back in 2019. And another thing too that's really awesome about having, learning going on at home is parents now are able to help their students. They're able to go onto Canvas and access these badging courses because our teachers have put in studio videos to help teach these different skills. They put in different resources, and everything from a handout to, a chapter from, or some pages from a book, or like I said before, a video of the teacher explaining a skill. It's really been just a really amazing opportunity, and it's really helped with some of the equity pieces that, at a little bit before that sometimes we struggle with. And then just real quick, one thing that we adopted this school year, which I would definitely really encourage everyone to kind of explore, is this idea of playlist. If you ask a student what a playlist is, they might talk about, what music they're listening to or something like that. And so we worked with Modern Teacher, which is a fantastic company, to come up with this idea of learning playlist. And essentially what we found at the back in March of 2020, going into this last school year, was that some of our students and some of our parents kind of struggle. What do I need to do today? And so this playlist basically is built all within a Canvas page, and every single one of our teacher, from kindergarten class to an AP English class, for example, utilizes a playlist. All the links that the students needs are embedded, all the videos are embedded from Studio or from YouTube, you name it, and it basically gives just what needs to be completed for that day. And it really takes away some of the guessing work a student might have it in case they are learning from home, or for a parent, parents coming home from work and they're asking their, child, hey, what did you do today? They can check the playlist to see, okay, oh, I see, and now I can help you with that. So I'd be definitely willing to share. We have our playlist on the Canvas Commons. You can search for them. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can help out in any way I can.
Yeah, just quickly looking at the learning targets over here, how amazing would that be for parents to be able to see those learning targets, to actually know how to help their kid with the subject matter at hand? That's huge. Moving on to the use of LTI. Sherry, I think this one's you, huh?
Yes, sir, that's me, and I won't beleaguer this one, but Steve kind of mentioned Badger as one of the LTIs that they bring in. There are two that we use, and I'm talking mathematics because that's my field of study. We use a ton of others, but these are available through when you're creating an assignment in Canvas. You can use an external tool and you can bring in different things. So for example, some of our teachers use Assistments. So it's a free tool and it's a way to assign math problems and homework. It gives immediate feedback to your teachers and is aligned to different curriculums and textbooks. So when a teacher goes in, they can actually pull open, I need Algebra 1 and I need it from Illustrative Math, or I need Algebra 1 from Eureka Math, or I need this. So you can actually go in, select the problems that you want, and create the assignment from it. The other thing that we're implementing this year is Derivative. This one is a game changer. As a former high school math teacher, I get chills when I talk about this one. It's the only platform of its kind. It's a computer algebra system, not that those don't exist out there, but this one asks open-ended questions. Kids respond with their math and it scores their math. Not only does it score it, it doesn't just tell them they're right or wrong. It tells them why they're right or why they're wrong. So it takes their answer and uses it to show them why their math is right or why their math is incorrect. And it gives them scaffolding. It's amazing. Not only that, it provides in the moment assessment for your teacher. So in the middle of class, a teacher can use Spot Check to send a question, and kids respond to it anonymously up there, although we can actually see the names anyway, but kids can't. And we can use that as a basis for discussion about the different answers that we're seeing. So the learning is still going on, but it also informs the teacher thinking, oh, I can move forward, or no, wait a minute, I better back up a minute. My students aren't understanding this concept. So the power of Canvas is not only just limited to what you see right there in Canvas. You can bring in these external tools that actually help really just make Canvas even better. So just a couple of different LTIs that you can bring in to make that happen.
I love that. Yeah, I think, that was really what the premise of Canvas was built off of. Canvas is not going to solve all problems every time, but having the ability to bring in these third-party tools to utilize them in a seamless way, really increases the power of the platform. I totally agree with that. The next strategy up here is invest in hybrid as the new normal. And Dr. Timms, I'm looking at you, and you might be looking at this saying, the new normal. I've had Canvas for a while, and we've been kind of having a hybrid model for years now. Well, that's why I want to start with you. What are your thoughts on, a district kind of maybe being a little nervous of having this hybrid thing being new, and the way that technology and education is kind of moving towards?
So again, over the last 5 years since we adopted Canvas, this really was our approach, was creating as many hybrid or flipped classroom models. You know, we really went through all the different models of blended learning that there was, and our teacher leaders learned those very deeply, and then they would go back and they were our test beds for a lot of work that we did. We eventually developed a lot of our own online courses that we would offer in the summer, or we would offer through the fall and the spring, to allow high school students to have extra room in their schedules. So we really had offered to hundreds and hundreds of students over the last few years this opportunity to be in an online environment in their learning. And when March of 2020 came, it was not a huge leap for the rest of our teachers to move into that area. And we experienced a lot of different models in our district last year. Tennessee, you know, like everyone else, had its own approach to what education looked like last year. We were very fortunate that for the most part, we were in-person learning last year in our district. But we did have, at the high water mark, around 34% of our students who were in a fully virtual environment. And we ended the year much lower than that. Tennessee is not allowing virtual classes within existing schools this year. We had to actually create, for us, in essence, a 12th school and launch it this year, Johnson City Virtual Academy, which went live this morning with around 150 or so students. And we're very excited about that because it's letting us offer a new platform. And we learned a lot last year. All of the teachers who are teaching at our virtual academy this year were fully virtual teachers all year last year. We didn't have the model, except in a few situations in AP, where teachers had students in the classroom and students at home. You were either in person or fully virtual. So the backbone this year of our virtual academy built on 5 years of work in our district, and knowing that it's okay to go into the virtual realm. Canvas, I sort of call it our three-legged stool. We have Canvas running as our LMS that we're really embedding everything in curriculum-wise. We have Zoom, which is our partner embedded again within Canvas, a paid version of Zoom to be our synchronous piece. And our asynchronous piece is, of course, Canvas Studio, which is by far the best money a district can spend on anything other than Canvas itself. It would have to be Canvas Studio. And looking at our preliminary data from last year, our students who were in a virtual environment scored as good as our students who are in the in-person environment. And I credit all of that to the teachers' understanding of how to approach digital instruction and being able to teach in the blended environment. And now moving into this virtual academy that we have launched, you know, it's exciting for us to continue this journey and move into new territory that we began in 2016 with our adoption of Canvas.
All right, I'm making the quote bubble. The best thing a district can spend their money on is studio, Dr. Timms.
Can I add to this, Thomas, just really quickly?
Course.
Just I know I'm jumping in front of Steve, but just from the standpoint of the hybrid piece, because we had a virtual academy last year, even though we had teachers teaching face-to-face and Zooming regular. This year, we won't have any of that. They either had to choose virtual or choose face-to-face, and our teachers won't be doing double duty. But here's the way that we're using Canvas moving forward. It's still a staple in every classroom. K-12, that's, you know, a non-negotiable. Our teachers are hooked on it. So
absolutely,
which is a great thing. And we want that. But we have here in Charleston, we have weather days where we're out for hurricanes. We're out for those types of things. Because of Canvas, we are able to keep the learning going, and our students won't miss those days of instruction just because we're having to be out because of a hurricane, much like other places are out for snow or other weather type days. That's a very real thing for us, and we're used to missing a week or more in just hurricane days. So this is going to be a lifesaver for us moving forward for those types of times.
Yeah, and just to really kind of piggyback what Dr. Timms and Sherry mentioned, I can't speak highly enough of Canvas Studio. If your district doesn't have Studio, you know, I would beg your district administration to at least look into the program, have them contact one of us, and we will definitely sell them give them the sales pitch, right? because it is such a powerful tool. Dr. Timms mentioned that he saw at his school district, the students who were maybe 100% virtual or in a hybrid setting scored just as well as students who were in person. And we saw the exact same thing. And I think we can contribute that not only to the hard work that each of our teachers, put into that virtual or that hybrid learning, but also the tools like Studio. It really has become one of the go-to tools at Elizabeth Forward School District. The fact that you can go ahead and take your own videos that you create, but videos from YouTube as well, embed questions in them so your students are, on their toes a little bit. They're not just watching a video just for watching it, for the sake of watching, I should say. They can ask questions. You can almost keep it like a discussion going back and forth. It's really helped with what I put on the screen here, this multimodal instruction, right? Not just having text on a page, but you can use audio, you can use video to really go ahead and engage your learners. In Studio, it just checks all the boxes for us.
Great. So, oh my gosh, we're running out of time. We got about 10 more minutes left. We have 2 more strategies here. So let's kind of plow through them. The next one is meet students and parents' needs. This is something we've been talking about pretty much for the entire hour. But I want to give some time to focus on what you all are doing, the parent app, the student app. So.
And just real quick, because I know we're pressed for time, we did create after the beginning of the year a parent Canvas course. It was an open course, so they just needed the link to click into it. And then we set up modules, and the modules are listed here for them to be able to work through. And it was really focused on Canvas and all the different aspects of Canvas from the parent perspective. But you can see there we also embedded in for our younger learners. We did use Seesaw and some. I hate to say this word, but Google Classroom pieces for our younger learners last year, simply because that's what those teachers were comfortable with. And we embedded some modules into this open Canvas course for those parents to learn those platforms as well. And then I can't say enough about our technology department in our district. They manned every day, and we're still manning it from 10 to 2, a live technology support line for our students and our parents. That was a huge piece for our district, and thousands and thousands and thousands of calls came into that. Huge expenditure with personnel, but it was one of the most well-received pieces that we had for parent and student support last year.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And, the idea of saying Google Classroom is not a good thing, I disagree. I think, you should be using the best tools that suit the needs for that population. And if a full-fledged learning management system isn't something that group of users need, why wouldn't you use the best, resource for them? So no, I totally agree.
And so I can't remember which panelist said that they really wanted to focus on, interacting with parents and having them become more comfortable with Canvas. I think we all spoke about that, like you mentioned, Thomas, a couple of minutes ago. And so in about, I don't know, April, May, or June of 2020, I really sat down and thought, how can I help our parents? And I thought to myself, okay, all of our students have iPads, we're 1-to-1. Why not go ahead and load an Apple Book onto everyone's iPad that's all about the Canvas Parent app? And so we got to work creating this book. It goes through everything from creating accounts to how to communicate with teachers, check grades, check assignments, those types of things. I put a QR code there. If you'd like to have access to that book, please go ahead and scan that. You can also reach out to me as well. I'll give you a copy of the book, and you can put your own district's logos on it if you want to. I'm definitely, and I think all the panelists here agree, we're in this together, everybody, and we need to share. Even though, Sherry did kind of throw some shade at me for living in Pittsburgh, but it's all good. It's all good. And the other thing I would say too is, take advantage of the tools inside Canvas as well. So for example, global announcements has been key for us to communicate not only with students, but with parents as well. Everything from the beginning of the school year, of how we were going to kind of do things inside Canvas was sent to our parents. To contests, to important information. Of course, we use our student information system to communicate with our parents, but adding Canvas to it as well is just another important piece.
Yeah, so while you were talking, I just pulled up one other example that I quickly just want to show, this idea of jumpstart courses. I've recently seen more districts do this where they're actually enrolling parents or family members into a Canvas class as an observer, even before the school year starts. So if I have a child who's entering in kindergarten, I now have a line into, you know, that team of teachers, a welcome message, things to know before the first day, this year's curriculum, and they can access this even before the child gets into their first day of kindergarten. So just echoing all the sentiments here, I really think that, you know, helps. The last thing that we'll touch on, and then we're going to kind of wrap up here in the last 5 minutes, is have a thoughtful approach to assessments. Steve, I know I stole your thunder before talking about the badges, but I just got so excited about them. But I'm curious for, you know, the other panelists, or Steve, if you want to add something else, you know, what does that mean to you? Have a thoughtful approach to assessment.
I'll jump in just really quickly. I think what resonates with me with that is in a time where kids are inundated by tests, they're always being tested, that we have to remember that what we put in front of them should be well thought out, should meet the mark, should align to the standards and be worthy of the child's time spent on it or the teacher's time to grade it. So, you know, we're working with our teachers especially to think through, what are you putting in front of students? Is it worthy of the time being spent on it, or is there a better way to do it? So we've done a lot of work with, you know, Mastery Connect, because again, it's right there in Canvas. We've looked at standards and DOK levels and ensuring that our tasks that are being put in front of students, whether it's a full-blown unit assessment or just a checkpoint or just a task for them to complete for mastery, that it is well thought out, that it matches the standards, that everything is apparent as to why we're spending our time doing it. So just making sure that everything that you put in front of a child is worthy of being put in front of a child.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you for that. And, you know, I just want to, again, thank you all for your time today. It was a pleasure getting to chat with you for this hour. For everyone in the room, just know that we do have the Back to the Classroom strategies available. You can access it by going to instructure.com/canvas/resources/back to the classroom with Canvas. I think we might put that in the chat, but we're going to kind of take the last, 3 minutes here. And Stephen or Katie, were there any questions that came through that we should ask our panelists in the last couple minutes here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just first, really quick, I just want to say that, you know, even though we only have time to do one question, just everyone, please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A panel. So even though we won't be able to get to your question today, the team at Canvas should be able to answer your questions privately after today's event.
Definitely.
Yeah, so please feel free to still submit them while we ask this one question. So first off, you know, we received a really great question that I would like to start out with. Our audience member, Tamika, mentioned that her district uses standards-based grading and was wondering if that strategy works together with Canvas. I don't know if you'd like to answer that first, Thomas, or maybe if David, Sherry, or Steve, you know, if your districts are also standards-based and use Canvas, to share, you know, how you use Canvas and standards-based grading and how they work together.
Yeah, I mean, quick answer, yes, for sure. And we actually have different levels of how to incorporate that, from something that's included in Canvas standalone, the Learning Mastery Gradebook, to a more advanced type of assessment tool or assessment management system called Mastery Connect. Anyone on the floor want to give us a quick synopsis of how you're handling that?
The vast majority of ours are not standards-based, but we have many teachers who have been delving, especially our CTE teachers, into the mastery paths. And that has been really good for us. And we were brand new to Mastery Connect and benchmarking this year, so I know that will open up some doors for us.
Lot of tools in Canvas with Mastery as their first name, but I love that because you can assess standards in an assessment, and then based off of the score, the level of mastery the student earns, a student can actually be led down one of 3 pathways as well. So you're giving them that just-in-time resource that gives them, you know, differentiated content based off of what they need. So really powerful stuff there.
If I could jump in, Thomas, we've been using Mastery Connect and that platform since 2019. And we do have teachers that use it for standards-based grading. So we have, it's used for a lot of different things too, but they can actually zero in on a specific standard and actually pull questions associated with that standard, work with small groups of students, group those students in Mastery Connect, be able to provide that intervention and then track a student's performance over time to show that this child is getting to mastery of a standard. So the beautiful part of that is that Mastery Connect will update every single time. So you might see that a child has mastered and then 3 weeks later has slipped a little. So it gives you that in the moment reaction to know, oh, wait, I need to circle back around. I need to do some spiral review to ensure that they maintain the mastery of certain standards. So it's definitely a possibility in Canvas to do standards-based grading.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that question. And, you know, the obvious thing is if you want to see any of our products under the Instructure umbrella, you know, you can reach out to us and we can set up a demo, you know, diving a little bit more deeper and showing you the actual tools.
Perfect. Well, as we can all see, we're at the top of the hour here. So that concludes the Q&A portion of our presentation. And before closing out, I just want to say, you know, thank you, David, Sherry, Steve, and Thomas, definitely for facilitating today's event. It was really great, and our audience really appreciates it. And with that, I would like to thank our audience members as well for joining us today. For those who enjoyed our presentation, there are many more upcoming web seminars like this one that are provided by District Administration, which is the leader in editorial coverage of news, trends, in addition to current issues in K-12. Our wide range of readers here subscribe for free to DA, and stay up to date with us through our print magazine, the digital edition of the magazine, our newsletters, as well as web seminars like this one. Also, really quickly, for those of you who would like to watch this web seminar again, or maybe for those of you who believe that the solutions provided in this web seminar would be helpful to your colleagues, you'll be pleased to know that there will be an archive recording of this webinar that will be available at the URL, which you can see right here on your screen. And you can also expect to receive an email from our team later today at DA, which will include a link to all the slides as well as the on-demand video. So with that, on behalf of District Administration, this is Stephen Blackburn. Thanks everyone, and have a great fall semester. Take care, be well, and stay safe, everyone. Thanks again.